Hey everybody, I'm back. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about 10 games for the Amiga Mini that you could add that are underrated. Basically these are ones that have flown under the radar over the years and are still a lot of fun to play. They may not be your blockbuster 90% games, but these are games that if you add them to your Mini I think you'll have a good time and they're pretty solid. I haven't checked whether they are compatible with the Mini, so that could be an issue. These are just some games that I was playing the other day on my regular Amiga and thinking, well, these would be good fun ones to add to the Mini, so I thought, why not do a video about it? Anyway, without further ado, let's get on with this countdown. Okay, first up we have a game called Malpiti Island, and it is a kind of detective adventure game. I'd say like almost like a point and click. If you've ever played the game called Mortville Manor, which released I believe in '89, looking at the review, yes it did, it released in '89, bang on. You play the same detective, Jerome Lang, and this is a fun game. It's a very good mystery and a very good story. The only slight downer with it, I would suppose, is it is a French game that's been translated into English, so sometimes the translations can be a little bit, shall we say, eccentric. But you know, to me it didn't spoil the experience, and it's a very good story. Let's have a look at this review here. It got 83%. I'm not going to say what magazines these are from because everybody seems to have their own opinion on the magazines that are picked. So there you go. We just picked a random review. We're going to pick random reviews for every game. Let's have a little look here. Some funky little screenshots. Hopefully not giving too much of the story away. I don't think they do. But yes, it's a very good game. It says here, it does mention the translations here, that the translations are a bit eccentric, and it also says that obviously that can detract slightly from the experience. It depends if you're going to let it bother you, really. Yeah, it is a little bit weird sometimes. Let's have a look. I'm sure they've got an example in this review somewhere. Yes, for instance, the box blurb says, when we arrived, I immediately knew there would be a heated ambience, a very heated ambience. There's nothing I like more than heated ambience, whatever that might mean. So yeah, there's a few little oddities. I guess you can kind of see what they were doing, but you know, if someone's directly, literally translating, then I guess it doesn't come across as a natural thing. But it doesn't spoil the game, in my opinion. And even they say when they gave it 83%, one of the best whodunits to grace the Amiga. So if you're into that kind of thing, sort of like an adventure, sort of like a bit of a mystery, a detective story, then I definitely would recommend checking out Malpiti Island. Okay, next up we have a game called Roadkill, which is another one of those top-down racer games. With a bit of a difference, I suppose, is kind of like in some ways an earlier Mario Kart without the cuteness, in the sense that you pick up a lot of power-ups along the way, which can end up taking out other cars. It's pretty good graphics as well. It looks very nice, plays very nice too, and yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, and it plays very well. So here we go. This is what this magazine says about it. Again, I'm not naming the magazine. You can maybe recognise it for yourself. Here we go. A fabulous, violent one-player racing game. But how we wish for a link option. Yeah, again, yeah, that would be nice if it was a two-player game, but this is strictly one player. 80%. I don't play a lot of multiplayer games, so that doesn't bother me. If that bothers you so much, then, maybe this isn't the game for you. It says it's certainly one of the better one-player racers, splendid car movement and missiles from heaven. Yeah, it is quite satisfying when you manage to take one of your competitors out. It is fun. So yeah, if you're looking for yet another top-down racer, I'd recommend this one. It doesn't really get mentioned because of the better games that are out there, but it's definitely a lot of fun. Next, we have a game called Deliverance, which apparently I only just found out actually is a sequel to a game called Stormlord. So if you've ever played that before, this is the sequel. This game gets a lot of unfair comparisons to another game, which is called Gods, which I'm sure all you guys are aware of, as it was a very popular game. It gets a little bit of an unfair comparison to it. It's not the same game, it plays very differently, so if you're expecting the same game as Gods, because it looks quite graphically similar, I suppose, then no, it's not the same game at all. Let's have a look at the magazine review for this one. 81%, graphics 80%, and here it says, I know what you're thinking, haha, they've printed pictures of Gods by mistake. Yes, Deliverance does bear a distressing likeness to the Bitmaps arcade epic. The first level is such a carbon copy, you wonder how they expect to get away with it. Later levels, however, show there's a lot more graphical variety to Deliverance than Gods. And it doesn't stop there. I'd go as far as to say Deliverance is a more playable and enjoyable game. So there you go. But Gods is the one we all know and love, isn't it? So, they seem to reckon that Deliverance is the better game. But I do agree, it does look similar in a lot of sense, but it does play very differently if you've ever played it. So I would certainly advise check it out, especially if you do like Gods. But if you're just looking for a fun game, like a bit of a a hack and slash kind of platformy style game, then yeah, definitely could not go wrong with Deliverance. And like I said, it's probably on the underrated games list solely because of its resemblance to Gods and how people always say God is the better game. You know, play both, judge for yourself. Okay, coming along next is a game called Fly Harder. Now, this game, I have to say, is a very hard game. So, you know, that can put some people off. As you can see here, it scored 87% in this magazine. So, you know, they do rate it. It is a CD32 game, so unless we can find a CD32 file, now I think there is one available from the WHD load package, as far as I'm aware. Do not quote me on that, I could be so wrong, but it's worth a play, definitely. It is a tricky one to master, I've got to be honest. And you know, if you're not into games where you know you're going to die a few times, then chances are you won't be into this. I think modern games have steeled us to this kind of thing now, haven't they, really, when you think about it, because playing games like Demon Souls and stuff like that, and Dark Souls, and Bloodborne, you know, and then most recently Elden Ring, you know you're going to go into those games and die a lot. So maybe we're more steeled to play these games than we were back then, because obviously, you know, back then, I think personally it took so long to load a game and stuff that, you know, you were a little bit like, potentially you didn't want to take a chance on playing a game where you die loads and loads and loads of times. But I played it recently. I did have a few struggles with it, but it was fun as well, a lot of fun. Let's see what they've got to say on here. They give it, what was that, 7? Yeah, 7 on graphics, 7 on sound, 9 on addiction, and 8 on playability. This is rather difficult to control the ship, but Fly Harder is absolutely tremendous. It is fun. You've got to persevere with it. There might be a few levels where you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I don't want to play this, I'm just crashing all the time and getting hit and stuff, but it's a lot of fun. It describes it here as a kind of like a mix between Space Invaders, Asteroids, Thrust and Defender, all put into a large pot. So yeah, it's fun. If you like a little space shooter, definitely give Fly Harder a try. Some of these games, I don't know if they are 100% underrated or not. I mean, 87% this scores in this magazine, so you'd think maybe not. But I know a lot of people that have tried to play this game and decided that it wasn't for them because it was too difficult. So, you know, in that sense, I guess it does get a little bit underrated because of the difficulty. But definitely I would advise, give it a try, see what you think. And like I said, you're probably more conditioned to games that are hard nowadays, considering modern games can be very difficult. So yeah, give it a try, see what you think, and let me know in the comments as always. Okay, next up is a game by Melbourne House, released by Virgin, called Supremacy. It's a strategy game, sci-fi. You know, you terraform planets, you create armies, you feed populations. You do a lot of things in this game. It's very involved, and it's a very good fun game. I call this one underrated because I gotta be honest, I'd never heard of it. It doesn't score too badly in a lot of places that I've seen, so but then I have seen people say it's boring, so I don't know which side of the fence you fall on. But I do like strategy games. I love like the Dune games and stuff like that on here, and I think this is a very good one and well worth a look. Let's have a look at this review here. You can tell this is from Amiga format. They gave it 90%, so there you go. Graphics 8, sound 3, so not a lot going on in the sound department, but intellect 9 and addiction 9. And yeah, it's a very good game, very involved though, so be prepared if you know, you get into this game. It's not one of them things you can get into casually. It says, as the colony spreads, your brain is gradually stretched to snapping point, trying to keep track of shuttling ships, supplies and troops between the stars. Thoroughness is demanded, but it's impossible to achieve. Ships are left sitting in docking bays of starving planets, holds groaning with food, battleships are sent racing towards new war zones, entirely bereft of troops as your mind locks up trying to cope with too much too fast. See, that's sometimes what I get with strategy games. I do get sometimes slightly overwhelmed with them all, but yeah, overall this is a very good one. If you're into strategy games, can't recommend this highly enough. And yeah, I'm not so sure why it's not as popular as say like a Dune or something. I mean, Dune is better, don't get me wrong. That's to me that's the king of strategy games on the Amiga, but this is definitely worth your time. So if you've never played this before, definitely recommend checking it out. Okay, next we have Lamborghini American Challenge, which is also known as Crazy Cars 3. It's not 100% Crazy Cars 3. There are differences between that and Crazy Cars 3. I believe this one has a multiplayer option on it, which Crazy Cars 3 did not have. Essentially, other than that, I think it's pretty much the same game. You might correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but yeah, this is a really good driving game, and again, it doesn't get mentioned up there with some of the better ones, but I think it's very good, very playable, fun. And let's have a look and see what this magazine says. I can't find the graphics and that. Yeah, graphics 82, sound, I thought it said squad for some reason. God, my eyes are going terrible. Sound 82%, playability 83%, lastability 80, overall 83. I don't know why they're talking about a Star Trek episode there in the verdict, which is a little bit weird. But as soon as I loaded up this game, I sat for the next 2 hours and beat the computer. I was on my first go, and I hasten to add that I never really played Crazy Cars 3 that much before. It doesn't say much for its chances in the long life department of games. So they're kind of suggesting it's a little bit easy, which I don't know, if you're good at playing racing games, maybe you will find it easy. So, but then again, I suppose if you buy Lamborghini, you pretty much know what to expect anyway. 2-player mode works a treat and boosts the game up a few marks. So yeah, that's I think where the draw is on this one. The fact that you can actually play 2 players, and it's got a picture of it in the game. If you can see it, there's a split screen picture on the right hand side, which you can see that's how the 2-player will work, as it did very much back in the day. You know, it still does to this day sometimes, doesn't it? The old split screen. But yeah, that's how you play 2 players on this one. And yeah, I thought it was a very good game. And you know, the 2 players is always going to be a draw, isn't it, for little consoles like this. My wife loves driving games, so we play this game together, and I would recommend it highly. Okay, next up we have a platform game, the first one on the list, called Yo Joe. Actually, no, it's the second one, because we've had Deliverance, haven't we, which again is a platform type game. This is your more traditional platform game, though, kind of like, you know, in the same sort of vein as, I'm going to say a Super Frog or something like that, but, you know, obviously he's not a frog, he's a person. But, you know, that kind of platform game, you know, bouncing around, jumping around, picking up collectibles and stuff. That's more your traditional platform game. And it's good. It's one of the better ones out there, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. And I don't think it gets talked about enough, quite honestly. This review we'll have a quick look at. It's from Amiga Amiga Format. And it says, takes platform games where they've been before, but does it with style and aplomb. Keeps you coming back again and again and again and again and again. You get the idea on that one? Not fast, not furious, but fascinating and more importantly fun. A game with no obvious downside, programmed with thought, care, attention, and it shows. So there you go, 91%. I've actually seen it get some bad reviews in some places as well, so I guess it's an opinion divider. It says on the thing it needs 1 megabyte, which might be a problem for us on the Mini, but yeah, I think, personally speaking, if you like a platformer, you're going to enjoy it. And they mention it here. Platform games come in 2 kinds, the incredibly cute and colourful kind, like the aforementioned Rainbow Island, Rodland and RoboCod, and the dark, atmospheric kinds like Gods, Myth et al. Here, in the shape of Yo Joe, we have a bit of a hybrid. Yeah, so it kind of divides the sort of like Rainbow Islands, RoboCod, Super Frog, that sort of thing. And it kind of mixes the 2, so which is good. Obviously, you want a bit of a variety, don't you, in platform games? If you've played it, let me know in the comments what you think. I personally had fun playing this game, and you know, it definitely is a game I would go back to. So I agree with the review on that one. Yeah, but let me know what you think. But I don't think this game gets talked about enough. When you talk about platformers on the Amiga, probably you would mention 10, 12 ones before, you would mention Yo Joe. So yeah, if you're into platform games, definitely check this one out. Okay, the next game on the list is a helicopter shooting game called Apocalypse, again by Virgin. Maybe all these underrated games are by Virgin, I don't know. They certainly seem to be having a bit of a say in this one. It's a very versatile helicopter game. I seem to remember you can fly the helicopter in all kinds of directions in this one. It's quite bizarre. A lot of the time you do end up flying sort of like backwards and diagonal, and it's very odd, but it's fun, and it's it's definitely worth a check out. Let's have a look at what the magazine says. Beautiful looking, tough and addictive. Yeah, it is a hard game, so if you've got a bit of a challenge, this is going to be another one of those games, a bit like Fly Harder, that is definitely going to challenge you. Downers say, hard as they are, 5 levels aren't going to last you forever, and it doesn't, would you believe, recognise a second disk drive, 5% off. Wow, 5% off for that. Now that's harsh. Overpriced at 30 quid undoubtedly, but deeply enjoyable game all the same, and well worth at least 81%. And they gave it 80%, which I don't quite understand why they did that, to be honest. But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun game. It is hard. It is short. But, you know, if we're not paying 30 quid for it in the shops these days, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's more what it delivers on the fun content, and I think it certainly lives up to that. Any of you guys played this? Let me know. I can't remember if anybody recommended it months back in the lists that I put up originally. I'll have to go through them at some point and have a look, see how many of these games, these underrated games, did get a mention on there, to be honest. But yeah, definitely worth a go. And if you like flying games, you like shooting games, what's not to check out? Okay, next up is another, well, I guess you'd essentially call it a platformer. It has platforms in it, maybe not quite in your traditional sense of a platformer, but we have Fire Force. Kind of like, if you remember Green Beret on the Spectrum and Commodore 64 machines back then, kind of similar to that, I guess. It's a shooter, obviously you're soldiers, you're going side, it's a side scroller, so it's kind of got a few similarities, I guess. Probably not in the terms of gameplay as such, but you know, this magazine here, again, we're not going to say which one it is, mostly because I can't remember, to be honest with you, but there you go. It got 83%. Despite the cosmetic similarities, Fire Force bears little resemblance to any military blast I've ever played. First impressions suggest it's a little laid back, and the less furious shoot 'em up element backs this initial feeling. It's a damn fine game though, and if it wasn't for the tricky control interface and the strict mission time limits, it may have fared a little better. Yeah, that is the only downside. I don't like being rushed in games, so having time limits on games, yeah, that's not the best, to be honest with you. But it is fun, and I like the way they do mention it despite the cosmetic similarities. So I'm guessing they think as well it probably does look a little bit like Green Beret in terms of looks. Yeah, but it definitely doesn't really play that way. And it's fun. You've got to just, you know, remember that there is a time limit on it. So if you don't like to be rushed in games, that may be a little downside for you. But, you know, if you like fun, side-scrolling shooting games, graphically it's pretty good as well. I do like the graphics on this one. Then it's definitely worth checking out. You probably played it before anyway. This was a game that, one of the games on the list that I did actually know before I played it. So, you know, it's not a total surprise, this one, I guess. But it still doesn't get lauded in the same way a lot of games do. So I think it belongs on this list, and I definitely think it's worthy of a check out if you've never played it before. And the final game on this list is a quirky little game called Firo Klawd, which reminds me a lot of games like the Chaos Engine is the obvious comparison. Maybe something like a Zombie Ate My Neighbours, if you've played that game as well, which is a lot of fun. It's your kind of, well, I say basic, it's your kind of basic shoot 'em up in terms of premise, but it's something completely different in terms of, like, you know, what it's about and everything. And yeah, it's very good, and definitely one that doesn't get enough credit at all. I mean, again, Chaos Engine, everyone talks about this, and obviously Chaos Engine has 2 players. I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, that this is just a 1-player game, so unfortunately not 2 players on this one, but I don't care because I prefer playing 1-player games anyway, as I've already said, unless it's a good 2-player game, of course, in which case that will be fun. But let's still have a little look at the review. This is definitely an Amiga format review, for sure. Steve Bradley does it, and so I know he does most of them. Graphics 8 out of 10, rather tasty, with many a neat touch. Success. 8 out of 10 for sound. By Joe, the music is actually good. I'm going for a lie down. Very funny. Addiction. 8 out of 10. A new spin on the genre. Firo Klawd plays with ease. Smooth, scrolling, robot rolling, and darn difficult. 8 out of 10 for playability. And the overall verdict is a playable, interesting and visually stimulating shoot 'em up which calmly takes its place alongside the Amiga's better examples of the genre. Yes, so definitely if you are a fan of things like the Chaos Engine, and if you've played Zombies Ate My Neighbours, if you've played those sort of games, yeah, definitely check this out. It's great fun. And let me know in the comments if you've played this game before. I had a blast playing it, I've got to be honest. And I haven't played much of it yet. I'm still getting into it, but as soon as I played it, I thought, why have I never heard this game before? You know, it's people should be talking about this, really. Definitely check this one out if you've never played it, and especially if you are a fan of those games I mentioned. Okay, so there you have it. 10 underrated games you should add to your A500 Mini. How many of these games have you played already? Let me know in the comments below, and let me know which your favourite is from off this list. If you have any that you think should have been on the list, then please don't forget to mention them in the comments. That would be great. These are just a few that I've played recently, then I kind of figured that nobody seems to talk about as much as, like, you know, maybe a different version of that game, you know, that gets a lot more love. But I think, personally speaking, these games are great. And if you have never heard of some of them at least, you know, that means my video's been a success, because hopefully you'll put them on your Amiga Mini and you'll enjoy playing them too. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Apologies for not putting a video up lately. It's been a bit of a tough time in my household. I'm saying no more than that on videos, but you know, I'm back. Hopefully I can get more videos out soon, and thank you for sticking with me if you have done. If you are new to the channel, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. That will be awesome. and give me any comments down below on future videos you'd like to see done. That will be great. Social media addresses will be floating around on the screen at the end of the video too, so you can drop me a line there if you want to, or like I said, just reach me through the comments. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. Take care. See you on the next video. Bye for now.